Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode on my show, William Wallace for America. Today, I'm with State Representative Julie Emerson, and she's in District 39, and I'm going to let her explain a little bit more about her district. Julie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, I know I've been asking you a whole lot to be on the show, and I finally got you, and I feel privileged to have you on the show.
I'm glad we made it work. Privilege is all mine. I don't know. You can let me know afterwards if you feel that privileged. But
well, it depends on how much you tell about all the other representatives. Oh no, we don't do that live on air. So.
Sworn to secrecy.
Sworn to secrecy. No, I got it. Well, where is your district? Where is District 39?
So District 39 is partially Lafayette Parish and partially St. Landry Parish. So I have the cities of Carencro and Scott on the northern end of Lafayette Parish, and then I kind of go into the unincorporated part of southern St. Landry, and I have the village of Kington.
Never heard of it.
Well, you know,
I hate to admit that, but I love learning about these new little areas.
It's a great place to be. About 900 people or so. So it's a
little small town. It's like I met the mayor of Ball, Louisiana, a couple weeks ago. That's another little small town.
Absolutely. Well, this is not even a town; it's a village still.
So they still call it a village?
Yeah, because if you're under a certain population level, you have the different distinctions of hamlet, village, town, city, whatever.
Well, they're probably excited to have somebody like you representing them, right?
I hope so.
Well, I think so.
I think the village of Kington voted for me like 90% last time. So.
Well, absolutely. Then you know how much they like you.
I guess we're doing something right. I don't know.
Well, what makes up your district? What in your district, your representative district? What makes up? Is it rural? Is it is it industrial? What's the combination of people and business?
Well, I would say it's more rural, but like I said, we do have some smaller municipalities like Carencro and Scott, and frankly, those cities are really growing. Emerging areas. Carencro just got FedEx, and the new Amazon facility is being built in my district right now, right behind the FedEx. So I'm excited. It's creating a lot of jobs. A lot of people are moving more to the northern part of the parish. And I think it's nice because we do have more land available for people that maybe want to live a little bit outside of the city of Lafayette.
Right.
But the nice part is we're only about a 15-minute drive into Lafayette, so it's close enough to get into the city if you need to.
They want that country life, but yet
we're the suburbs.
The suburbs, yeah.
The nice suburbs.
You're between the country life and the city life, I guess.
Yeah. But then when you get into St. Landry Parish, I actually have some people that have about 15, 20, 30,000 acre farms. So obviously a lot of rural areas too, and a lot of farmers in the northern part.
A lot of people don't realize it, although I've mentioned it on several other videos with the other representatives in your area on how much all the whole Lafayette area is growing. It's like the fastest growing area in the state.
It's a great place to live.
It's it's good to hear that, but also, if everybody starts moving there, then you might lose some of that small town feel.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny that you bring that up because I was talking to somebody a couple of years ago about the mayor's race in the city of Carencro, and all three people were very well known to people in Carencro. They lived in Carencro their whole lives. One was a former mayor, one was the current mayor, another one had been on the city council and just kind of a prominent family in the area. And I actually had a couple of people in my own neighborhood walk up to me one day. We're just, walking the dogs or whatever. And
the fur babies.
Yeah. And he said, who are these people running for mayor of Carencro? I've never heard of any of them. And I thought, these are like three of the most well-known people in the city of Carencro. But it's people that, had just moved into the area.
Yeah.
So kind of speaks to your point. But, I'm glad we have growth. I'm glad we have some new people coming in. I feel like Carencro and Scott really kind of strike that balance of still having that, kind of hometown, smaller town feel, but still welcoming new people in. So
you hope it grows like just enough for everybody to get the jobs and have a little, enjoy that little prosperity feeling, but not so much that, you lose that country feeling.
Well, I think we still have a lot of our really good older Cajun restaurants. The city of Scott's the boudin capital of the world, so we have all of our little boudin stops.
Any particular good place that you want to mention?
They're all really good.
Okay.
I can't say my favorite.
Because they all have voters.
I can't say my favorite or have a favorite because that would be like really really bad in my area.
Exactly.
They're all awesome.
You got that? So all the boudin restaurants could all vote for you because you think they're all awesome.
Well, they're not even really restaurants. They're just kind of like stop-offs. Like you just go in and get boudin. And it's truly any place that you stop in Scott is going to have really good boudin.
Really good boudin.
I mean, it's the boudin capital of the world.
Well, I'm going to have to stop there soon then. Well, before I start asking about your legislation, what is it? What did you? Of course, what's your background? What do you do? Because a lot of people don't realize this is technically a part-time job, although it ends up being a full-time job. So you have a career before. What was your kind of background, and and what made you run for office anyway? Out of all that.
Yeah, so actually in 2011, I started a communications business, and it's certainly grown from there. But started doing a lot of digital marketing. It was obviously emerging in the business world and the political world. So I did a lot of digital marketing, everything from social media advertising to display ads for just any website. We do some website design, media buys for mass communications, TV, radio, things like that. And then we also do some polling with some market research and survey research. And it's funny because I did work on some campaigns and have some political clients. But honestly, that kind of made me never actually want to run for office because I saw everything they went through. But really, it just kind of came down to the fact that I represent basically my home district. I was born in another area, but my family moved to Carencro when I was 6. So I grew up there. It's home for me. And, the district was kind of emerging. I'm the first Republican to represent my district.
Oh, wow.
So it was starting to change politically, and I saw that. And I just felt like, it probably needed more conservative representation than it was getting. And actually ended up running against an incumbent. I really didn't want to. It was kind of one of those things that nobody else really wanted to run because it was an incumbent, and everybody's like, oh, I'll just wait my turn.
It's not because you didn't have the passion to want to make a difference or make your district better. It's because the idea of running it against an incumbent, you already know the mountain that you're about to climb just in that.
Yeah, and I think that everybody certainly has that passion for wanting to make their home area better and want the best for your district. And but I think that like I said, all of those people that I talked to several people about potentially running for the seat, and they were just like, I don't know, it's hard to run against an incumbent. You got to raise a lot of money, got to do a lot of work, and I'll just wait my turn. And I felt like it was the right time for a conservative person to be in that seat. And so I kind of was a little bit crazy and just decided to do it. And then I think surprised myself and everybody else. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what it's all about. Like when you can just be your own person and you can still beat an incumbent, it says a lot about you when that many people, I guess because when you put yourself out there politically, people have their eyes on you so much they can kind of get a feel for you. And so it says a lot about you if you were able to beat an incumbent.
Well, it was funny because speaking about my district, I don't speak French, and I didn't really come from a Cajun family, I knew that was going to be a little bit of an issue, just because, it's the boudin capital of the world.
Boudin capital of the world.
It's just the very old Cajun family place, but I grew up there, and I was friends with so many people in the area because I went to school right over the line, right outside the district, and then I went to UL, and so, but I think that was a big part of it, of just making sure that I kind of paid respect to that heritage and showed people that, hey, I may not have a French last name, although we had a joke. I used to tell people that my last name was Emerson. And they would really laugh. I mean, obviously they knew that wasn't
Right.
the truth, but we were kind of joke
Put a
about
little
it.
accente
But
goo over the O, yeah.
it made people laugh a lot. And I said, I mean, if we want to make my name a little French, we can just call it Emerson.
Emerson.
So,
I like that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have known the difference had you just said your name was Emerson.
you'd be like, well, she's from Lafayette. That's probably right.
That's probably right. Exactly.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Lafayette, so so I know all about it.
Everything's got a French spin,
Well, this is a fiscal session,
Mm-hmm.
so everything is focused on this is fiscal. But what concerns you? We're going to talk about your legislation here in just a second. But what concerns you most about our fiscal session right now? What's on your radar the most about it?
Well, I think that a big concern for a lot of members, and certainly for myself, is, we're getting so much money from the federal government. I think just certainly all around the state that's going to directly to some municipalities, but then to the state, I think we're getting, $3.2 billion or something along those lines. And I mean, that's a lot of money to put into the state coffers.
Right.
And so, I think it's when it comes to that kind of money, it's really easy to waste a lot, or put it toward different things that are maybe not in the best interest
Right.
of the state right now. And so I really hope that we're fiscally responsible with that. I know that's been a really common theme, and I know that's
Exactly,
the
yeah.
desire of a lot of people. But it's really tempting whenever all that money is sitting there,
Right.
and you say, well, I really want to do this for my district, or bring this home, or whatever.
Right.
You have to be really prudent with what you're doing. And
I like how real. I'm interrupting. I'm sorry, but I wanted to point out this on camera. I like how real that statement was. Where the human nature side of you wants to do something good for your district.
Yeah.
But the Louisiana side of you, the practical side, the fiscally conservative side of you says no. We got to do what's right for the state and what's the best use of money.
Yeah.
And you put that over spending like other people have done in the past.
Well, I think the nice part about a lot of this is, something that something tangible, I guess, that you can bring back to your district. Right. Is, our state is in grave need of infrastructure improvements.
Exactly, right.
And I actually, my personal belief is, once you, make some UAL or debt payments, and catch up on maybe some of the expenses you really did have during
Right.
COVID, which is what this relief money
Exactly.
is supposed to be about. If you have some excess, I mean, I do believe that infrastructure improvements are a worthy cause.
Right.
I don't think we need to be frivolous with them, but real things that can help promote the state's economy, I think can be extremely constructive. So, I think that there's some opportunity for people to be able to quote unquote bring something home, but
Right.
improve the state as a whole.
But I think what I like about from what I'm hearing from you is that you see improving the whole state as a whole is going to help your district, and when all this especially infrastructure stuff happens, your
Right.
district will benefit from that
absolutely.
focus, because a lot of
Absolutely.
most people are saying they want this money that's coming in from the federal government for this COVID money. They want it used on one-time expenses and not put into a reoccurring expense.
Yeah, and that's the difficult.
situation.
I mean, I think that's that's really what got us into trouble after Katrina. After we got so much money from the federal government, and then you just kind of throw it into the mix and
Yeah.
throw it into the budget, and it's just used just like a normal budget money.
Right.
And there's no focus on prioritizing one-time expenditures
Right.
that can help improve the state. You just put it into the reoccurring budget, and that's not fiscally responsible.
Well, let's just hope that everything that you all put together when it goes to the governor's desk, that he feels the same way, and making it a one-time use, and hopefully a lot of it goes for infrastructure. Well, what is
I hope so. I mean, unfortunately, John Bell and I usually have not felt the same way on things, but
You've not seen eye to eye quite.
Yeah, Governor Edwards, and he's vetoed a few of my things.
Has he really?
Yeah.
So this is your second session in this one, but is this your first term? I meant to ask you
This
that.
is my second
Your
term.
second term. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I got elected in 2015, and then reelected in 19. My reelect was a lot easier than my first election.
Exactly. Did anybody run against you?
I did have an opponent. He didn't, really spend a lot of money campaigning or do a tremendous amount of campaigning. So Thankfully, we were reelected with 70% of the vote, so
Nice.
that was a lot better than 51%.
Right, exactly.
The first time. So.
A better win that time around. So what is your legislation for this session? I know we made a joke before, that you got 5 bills that are actually going through, where before the last time 5 bills didn't even make it out of committee, but you've got 5 good bills, it sounds like.
Well, I am, of course, in the fiscal years when we're limited to 5 bills, you always have a lot of the agencies and departments running around trying to find bill authors for clean up things or, cleaning something up from unintended consequences from a previous year or whatever. So, they kind of go like bill shopping. They're like, oh, we have to find an author for this bill, and you have to get to them early because they only have 5 spots, and then legislators played this game.
Quick, so-and-so up there in northern Louisiana, they don't have their 5 yet.
No, it's really entertaining. But no, I do have a couple of department bills, something with the Department of Insurance, and we had
interviewed Jim Donald a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, oh cool. And in my opinion, a really good bill from the Department of Education. It's not, thankfully it wasn't super controversial because we're not forcing anybody to do anything, but we were creating a framework. Learning pods were a really popular thing during COVID.
Now, that just passed today.
And we did, we just passed that today. And so we're not making any school districts do it, but a lot of them liked the ability to do that and kind of wanted a framework. So we just put some definitions and some framework into statutes, and certainly not, like I said, not forcing on anybody.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And not trying to encroach upon homeschool or private schools. We actually put an amendment to safeguard that as well. So I think that's another
and charter schools, I think you had asked about.
Yeah, I think that's another part of the bill, that some people had come to me and said, we want to make sure that these learning pods on the homeschool side are protected. So we were able to get protections for that in the bill as well. We also had a pro-life bill today. It added to some of the reporting requirements.
I didn't understand that one. Can you explain that one real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was originally brought to me by Right to Life, but then also it kind of in conjunction.
Ben Clapper was up here today supporting it.
Yeah, it's also kind of in conjunction with the Attorney General's office because they were having some issues whenever they were defending some of the abortion laws that we have passed, abortion restriction laws. And some of these questions were asked, especially in regards to complications with abortions. And then especially if a woman, after she leaves the clinic, has a complication and then goes to a hospital. Okay. And we didn't really have those numbers. And so we actually feel like it's going to strengthen our ability to defend some of the good laws that we have here in Louisiana. So.
I like that. I guess it was when I saw Ben Clapper here, I was like, I know there's a pro-life bill on this one today.
Yeah, we actually had 3 pro-life bills today. So, and I think all very good bills. And I'm really proud to stand for life, and I'm proud that our state does as well. I know my district overwhelmingly does. And the state of Louisiana has always been one of the most pro-life states in America, and I think we should be very proud of that. So
we're focused on your 5 bills. So what are the other ones that you had? That you said they're going through because they've all passed on. They're all in the Senate now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I actually have a couple of bills with one with the Department of Corrections. It was actually dealing with a reentry council. They weren't having some members show up, and they had no ability to kind of remove them. And it's actually pretty important because I think that we talk a lot about criminal justice reform here in this building. But I think the thing that we need to focus on the most is a person, when they get out of prison and they're trying to reenter society, that we do our best to make sure they don't go back to prison.
Yeah, lower that recidivism rate.
Right, and I think that, we can have all kind of discussions about sentencing and this and that, but at the end of the day, most people are going to get out of prison, and the best way to make our state safer is to make sure they don't commit more crimes.
Right, exactly.
They don't go back to prison, they don't repeat. They get out and they're back with their families and they become good tax-paying citizens with good jobs.
Exactly.
So this was a bill that it's kind of just a cleanup thing, but I think also kind of reinforces the commitment to reentry. And then I also had actually a bill that I worked with the Department of Corrections, some justice reform groups, and the Fraternal Order of Police which was, an awesome coalition all coming
Yeah,
together.
exactly. That's a good one. Right?
Yeah, and so basically right now,
Get the trifecta.
yeah, right. So basically right now it's just kind of, lower level like traffic violations and different things. There's certain allowances for arrest on certain things. And so when I spoke to like my local law enforcement guys, they said, look, obviously we really don't want to arrest anybody. So frankly, what you're doing in your bill, we kind of already do, but it would be nice to put it in law. So it's sort of just changing the idea of, a law enforcement officer going into something saying, oh, well, first thing is you think about arrest, but then you try to find ways that you can give a citation instead of arresting. Well, this just kind of flips the intent and says, let's go into it thinking we're going to give a citation, but then if we have to arrest somebody,
that's a unique way of doing it. Yeah.
And it's just, like I said, I don't know that it really just dramatically changes anything. I think it's sort of what they're already doing.
It gives a police officer another, for lack of a better way to say it, gives them another arrow in their quiver.
Yeah.
It gives them another option, so that way, if they go into if they're going to an arrest or into a situation with only one option, then that might not be the best option. Now they have another option, so they're kind of more free thinking.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, from most of my conversations with law enforcement and my own chief of police, they said, we're really kind of moving in that direction anyway. But updating language in the law is never a bad thing.
Right, exactly.
Because you never know how somebody's going to perceive something 10, 20 years from now.
Right.
So.
And what I like about this is it's not that there's more legislation, more laws being created, but like you say, the word cleanup.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Things,
you just need some specificity, put on a law or put into a situation that just helps, our communities a little bit more. And then when we can bring in as many people as you've brought in to help counsel you on this, it shows not only are you listening, to what needs to be done, but it also shows that you have put everybody's opinion in the one.
We do our best to bring people together,
Exactly.
But I didn't do any this year, but pretty much every year that I've been here, I probably have done a bill to repeal some kind of law, and I like doing that because it's a weird mindset.
Is it the libertarian part of you?
Well, I mean, it certainly is, and there's a strange mindset when you get here, like a session starts approaching, everybody's like, oh, I gotta file my bills. I gotta file bills. I
love that you're talking about this.
And it's, I've actually told people, I'm like, why do we feel this grave need to continuously create new laws?
Yeah.
So I just tried to start repealing some. And I really have not been that successful at it. Those usually die in committee. But, I try.
No, Julie, you had the wrong idea. You create more laws.
Exactly. So, I'm a really big deregulation, cutting the red tape kind of person.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to do that as much as I possibly can. And I think I'm probably going to end up bringing some back.
I love that idea. If I was in the legislature, I think I would do more of that.
Well, I
didn't know you could do that. Obviously, I say that kind of naively, but I mean, the idea of repealing laws instead of just coming here and saying, I got 10 bills I can file. Let me file all 10 of them, and
Well, I'll never forget. I think it was like my first year here. I was talking to a lady. I honestly don't remember who it was. I mean, it was 6 years ago, and I think it was at some kind of Republican meeting or something like that. And I was talking to a lady, and she said, and I said, oh, who's your member? And she told me, and I was like, oh, he's a really nice guy. And she goes, yeah, but I looked up his legislation, and he rarely ever files any bills. And I just looked at her and I said,
that's a good thing.
Good for him.
Exactly. Wow, I love it.
And I mean, I get it. There's maybe a mindset that you're not doing anything, but that's why I try to file a lot of bills that repeal laws, because it shows that I am doing something, and I indeed am. But I don't just like to continuously create new laws.
Well, it connects back to something you said a few minutes ago when you said sometimes you create these laws to clean up the what was the phrase you word the unintended consequences from another law.
Right.
And when you've got to create more legislation to fix the unintended consequences of one or two other pieces of legislation.
Yeah.
And now everybody gets to these little entangled webs. And now I've noticed, I do want to comment also, that there's a lot of criminal justice reform I see going through for everybody that's non-fiscal bills. I see I saw a lot of that today actually. So it's kind of that point, because now they're talking about how can we reform the criminal justice system on how long sentencing or good days or was a good time served kind of thing.
Right.
But if we had less legislation, in some areas, and just let the free markets kind of roll, then it wouldn't be as
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Music to my ears.
Like anytime you want to repeal a law, you let me know.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to promote it. Well, what other concerns
it's tough.
Because all the other guys are saying, no, you're supposed to make more laws. You got 5 bills. And then, of course, like you said, when all the other departments are shopping for who's going to file legislation on their behalf, and you haven't filed any, and you're getting the phone calls, hey, you still have X number of bills left over, we noticed. Well, what else concerns you about the state? A few more questions, and then we're going to start wrapping up.
Well,
even though I'm enjoying talking to you.
Sure. Look, I mean, I think one of the biggest concerns in this state is always going to be our ability to attract people and businesses to our state. And most of that involves our really, in my opinion, terrible tax structure.
Right.
It's very convoluted. We have, random deductions all over the place, which, look, I mean, if deductions are making people pay less taxes, awesome. But I think if we take this wholesale look at everything and say, how can we get to a point of no state income tax?
Right.
You don't need deductions if you have no state income tax.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right.
and I think that, we have so many neighboring and surrounding states now that are moving in that direction.
And they're prosperous.
It's so incredibly appealing to people. And then just from the business climate as well. When you don't have the corporate income tax and you have a better legal environment. Of course, we did some tort reform last year, and we're still kind of waiting to see, that just started taking effect. So hopefully we'll see positive effects from that very soon.
Right.
But, we've just, for so long, we've kind of been in this rut that we have not been attracting businesses and people. And frankly, I think when you attract businesses, you will attract people because they come here for jobs,
right.
And we have a great state. I mean, everybody always wants to talk about our culture and our food and all this kind of stuff, and it's true. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
But we can't just run on that. We actually have to attract industry here. And then when I think you put us on a level playing field with Texas and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida and all of that, we have so many cool additions like our culture and food that people will want to come here and will want to stay here. So,
and I like the fact that you were thinking about that. I like the fact that you were thinking about, not just, the infrastructure, but ways to bring in the business and industry and to find ways to say, hey, let's not just rely on our personality. Let's not just be, have a great personality. Let's be somebody that has, it has smarts too.
Absolutely.
That can bring something to the table. And because we're in that pocket of all these other states around us that are being, not that I like the word progressive, but they're doing a lot of new, innovative things is, I guess, the right way to say it.
They're moving forward and they're reforming, and it's working, and they're attracting people to their state, and I think that Louisiana can do the same, and I want us to do the same. And
since we're all in that same general area, that's all in that same. We're all in the same area, doing not necessarily having to be copycats, but emulating and watching what they do. Then we can be a part of it, instead of just being that, that little dot down there that doesn't have anything to do with the rest of them.
That little boot down there.
Yeah, a little boot down there. Everybody forgets about the boot, They kick their boots off, and, and we're left, kind of, still at number 50. But it sounds to me like good representatives like you are doing things that are going to try to move us up on that list.
I hope so. We do our best. And we have some good people here. We really do. We have a lot of new people, which I think is a kind of a unique challenge right now. It's not good or bad or one or the other. It's just kind of one of those things that you have to deal with. Term limits really started taking effect, which I think is a good thing. But you have so many new people coming in. It takes a little time to get used to it, and we as second and third termers kind of have to walk that path of trying to explain the history, especially when we're talking about tax reform, because we did so many fiscal things last term with all the budget cuts that we had and all the different tax bills and all that kind of stuff. And we got a real baptism by fire in my first term.
Yeah.
And so many special sessions. And so I think it's good because we got a lot of knowledge on the tax issues and the fiscal issues. But I think it's really incumbent upon us now to try to explain the history and everything that we have been through in the last few years to our new members, to help them understand the need for some of these, good tax reform changes and different things like that. I think it may take some time. I don't know that we're really going to have any major wholesale tax reform issues come out of this session, unfortunately, but I think we might have a few things, and it's always baby steps.
You don't think there's anything major coming out? As much as people are laser focused on it, you kind of think that it's just going to be kind of just, we got some things, but we didn't get all the good things.
Well, and that's certainly in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
But I think we will get some, and like I said, it's always baby steps.
Yeah.
It's very rarely do you completely change a state overnight,
Right.
So you always just kind of have to chip away.
But the conversation is being had, and that's what's important.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely positive, and I hope it continues.
That's one of the two things I want to point out, is that not only do I like to point out that oftentimes the legislation that you want might not get through, but the conversation trying to get it through that is what needs to be had a lot of times. And then the other thing is that I like to point out is that not a lot of people realize that supporting you guys in the Capitol, that you don't just have to figure out all the fiscal stuff yourself. There's a whole team of accountants and attorneys and that really, they give you all classes so that you're not just up here creating bills. You all have to attend classes where they teach you what's going on and everything about that.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, we have a lot of great staff here that's it's been around for a while, and especially on the fiscal side with appropriations and ways and means, thankfully, because we would probably be lost without it. But I will have to say, funny story, when I first came in.
I wanted to ask you a funny story, so here's your funny story.
Well, but this one's not that funny. But,
well, if you have a funny one after that, we have two funny ones.
Coming in, my biggest worry was, man, I've certainly looked at legislation and had to summarize it before, and so I feel like I do have a leg up, but I don't know if I'm really going to be able to look up the laws and write bills and draft bills.
Right.
And then your orientation, somebody comes in and explains that, the committees have staff and they help you draft bills. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because you're just a little novice legislator. You have no idea what's going on. You're like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I don't think I can write laws. How do I do it? And then you finally realize, there are attorneys here that look up the statutes for you. They help you draft it. They show you kind of, what this looks like, what this is going to mean, and then of course you approve it and file it. But yeah, that was a really big worry for me. I didn't know if I was going to be able to. I'm like, man, I'm going to draft some crazy bill and it's not going to do what I think it does.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole team of attorneys that actually figure out if your legislation is going to be good, how it fits with other ones. I've talked to I can't say his name, but I talked to the lead attorney here, who kind of let me know some things that's going on, which I'm going to do a show about that later, by the way. And but it was interesting because in the committee, there's always an attorney on one side of the committee chair, the chairman, right?
Yeah.
Or the chairperson, and is an accountant on the other. And I've seen, hey, can we do that? Hey, can we,
you have your staff attorneys sitting by the chairman and committee.
So anything funny?
Man, there are so many funny things. I think one of the most memorable things was one night we were here really, really late. It was at the end of a special session.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of fighting back and forth about the budget, and so when we call a special session, there's a mandated date and time that session has to end.
Right.
And at that particular time, it was 11:59 or midnight, whatever.
Right.
And it was about 11:45, and all of a sudden, the big voting board in the front, all the electricity goes out, lights go down, everything goes dark. And I mean, we are 15 minutes away from having to pass this budget. So we're running around like everybody's, because something like this has never happened before. So we're running around they're like, do we have to do a hard roll call vote?
Yeah.
How are we going to end session like this? We can't vote. We can't record the votes. We don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The speaker's like, we're just going to have to call roll and everybody's going to have to vote that way. I don't know what we're going to do. And thankfully, we did get the power back on in about 5 minutes and we were able to vote and close out the session. But the funny thing was, we were all joking the ghost of Huey Long came in and turned off all the lights.
That's a good one. I like that.
But we ended up finding out that There was some like transformer or something.
The governor has a switch.
They were doing some kind of test on or something.
Right.
And we weren't supposed to be in session at that time because it was a special.
Right.
And so they had scheduled whatever tests they were supposed to do, and they just shut everything down, which is the power to the entire Capitol.
Oh, wow.
They had no idea. They were like, "Oh, sorry."
Like, I used to the ghost of Huey Long, or
Yeah.
the governor says, "Oh, we don't want that."
I mean,
But
just,
you
he
don't
has
want
a
that.
little
But
button under his desk.
Yeah.
He just turns off all the lights. But yeah, that was really wild. I really thought there for a second that we were gonna have to do like old-fashioned roll call votes. So
I love it. That is a good.
Yeah.
That is a good story. I always like to have little nuggets in there someplace.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, the big voting board in front, Butch Spear, who was the former House clerk, he'd been here for like 30-something years, was one of the longest-serving House clerks in the country. He didn't even know this, but last term, the entire board just, our names went away and it lit up red and it said evacuate. And it started flashing evacuate on the board. And the speaker's like, what in the world? And Bush is like, I don't know what's going on. What is this? Well, there was a kitchen fire. But nobody knew that the board lit up like that and told us to evacuate. So there was a kitchen fire and we all had to run out the front steps of the Capitol.
Now that's another little piece of interesting information in there. I love it.
I have the video. I'll have to send it to you.
You have to send that to me.
It's very
I'd
funny.
like to watch that. Well, any parting words for everybody? I know I've had you for a long time. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. You know, anytime I'd love to come back. And, you know, we really do live in a great state. I know we have a lot of problems, but Louisiana is always worth it. It's worth trying to make it better. And I hope that we can keep the really great people that we have.
I think we will. With good representatives like you, I think we will.
Oh, I hope so.
You know, and that's what it's all about. I mean, like you said, we have this great state, and you know, we all always joke about it, but you know, about being 50th on the list, and you know, last on the good list, and first on the bad list. But you know, like I said, with people, I think what I'm starting to see more and more representatives starting to work together on good legislation.
Yeah, we do.
You know,
we have
a
good group, a good new group as well that came in this time. So.
Well, hopefully they'll continue the good work. Julie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure.
Appreciate your time. And look, everybody else, as always, you know, please tell some people about the show. And if you're watching this, you'll probably see it on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're listening to it, you're here on my podcast. But remember, if you're listening to it on a podcast, I've got it on Facebook and YouTube and vice versa. And tune in. You go to legis.la.gov if you want to see what's going on in the legislature. You can watch live videos on what's happening, and tune into your favorite state rep. And thank you all very much for listening. Have a great day.